Archie.
Here.
Vice Mayor Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Terrapini.
Here.
Commissioner Banther.
Here.
Commissioner Sieber.
Here.
Is Reverend Bob Russell here?
No,
Oh,
Reverend Bob Murphy is here.
Oh, okay.
Mayor Archie, Vice Mayor Larson, Commissioners Terrapini and Blanthard and Siebert, City Manager LaCouris, and all of the Tarpon Springs citizens. I want you to meet and welcome the newest member of the Tarpon Springs Faith Leadership Minister of Community, the Unitarian Universalist, Reverend Bob Murphy. So here, standing on the side of love, is Reverend Bob Murphy for your invocation.
Oh God, you teach us that nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime. And therefore, we are saved by hope. God, you remind us that nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. And therefore, we are saved by faith. And God, we learn also that nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. And therefore, all of us must be saved by the power of love. In your name, amen.
We will now go to public comments on items that will not be discussed this evening. State your name and address for the record.
Gerald Goen, 1104 Clippers Way. I'll just show you this because it's a little hard to put it up here. Just as a reminder, I had it to you before. And what I'm about to say relates to that. First of all, don't start the count yet. I have something I want to get off my chest. I'm speaking for myself, solely for myself, only for myself, exclusively for myself, should there be any question. I think some of you know why I made that statement. I'll make some exception to that because I will speak for Cameron, even though he doesn't speak right now, and maybe for the Susies around the world too, because what I'm about to say is very important. So with that nonsense out of the way, let's get serious. When I spoke with you in July about climate change, I told you that the debate was over. The science was overwhelmingly in. Climate change was real. It was happening. It was happening now, and it was happening here in Florida. I told you the faith community wanted you to act. Pope Francis sees the pressing need. Archbishop Bartholomew I sees the need. And my faith leader, Unitarian Universalist Peter Morales, President Peter Morales, is on record supporting the need to act. On November 30th and to December 11th, the world community will assemble in Paris, France to deal with the carbon emission. Quote, the good news is, for the first time, all major emitters, countries totaling 80% of the global emissions, have submitted pledges to the United Nations with specific targets. Tarpon Springs and all communities must join the effort and take what specific action they can to make this planet secure for future generations. When I met with you in July, I commended you on the actions you had already taken, but said you could do more. And I outlined a number of areas where you could do more. So I'm back with a series of 9 questions asking that you act to do more. I think they are no-brainers to say yes, but that will be up to you. I won't take time tonight to go through each question. You should have been given the questions somewhat in advance of tonight's meeting, but I know not for a long time. Sorry, I was hospitalized for 3 days last week and my preparation schedule got behind. A work session when I could be present makes sense to me, but you decide. I know any one of you can place an item on the agenda for future consideration and actions. A word or about how I formulated the questions asking for a yes or no response. Now, I know political leaders don't like to be asked to respond yes and no. They feel they must act as a body and commission, and I understand that. I get that. They don't feel like they like to be pressured or that they like to be cross-examined, but that was not my intent. This is a serious matter. Time is of the essence, and I don't want to hear, and the citizens of the community don't deserve to hear well, thank you very much, Gerald. What's next on the agenda? This is too important to blow off. I'll comment on only 2 questions. Questions number 4, you will hear more about that tonight. Please listen carefully and be willing to invest. Question number 5, I had a long conversation with Mr. Bill Shepard on the staff in Gainesville. They are doing some awesome things with alternative energy. They are way out front with the first 21st century systems. If you don't hear from them, you are not acting responsibly. So, where do we go from here, Mayor?
Well, we go to other public comments. We do not comment on public comments. If you submitted something in writing to the commission, then the city manager will probably respond to that, but that's where we go tonight.
I did so, and it is in front of you. Okay? I will anxiously await your reply. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments tonight?
Excuse me. Peter Delacus, 514 Ashland Avenue. Didn't get an opportunity to be here at the beginning of the month, but I wanted to make a point to come now and reiterate what I've spoken about at some of the last few commission meetings. And this goes beyond just what this board can do, but what the citizens of Tarpon Springs, of Florida, and America can do. We can continue to demand changes in gun legislation such that it makes it safer for kids to go to school, people to go to the cinema, to go shopping, to live their life in a safe manner. The end of last month, Umpqua College in Oregon. 9 people dead, numerous injured, people's lives shattered. And the interesting thing that came up to me afterwards is they found the young man's father living somewhere, I think in California somewhere. And when they spoke to him, he says he didn't think if his son could get all those guns, it would either have happened or been so tragic. And they were saying he had 14 guns, and they were legal. And we allow that. So he went through the process, they're legal, but somehow, some way, there was, and what I thought about is this, and I know it goes against some of my principles about individual rights and such, but maybe within the system of how they research and approve gun permits, they keep some kind of tally or something. So if it reaches a threshold or some point, you know, where someone could get curious that this person has bought 14 handguns or certain types of munitions over a certain period of time, it triggers a response. Now, on one side of me, the anti-government in the sense of knowing more about us and ruling and saying you can't do this and that. I'm not saying a way to control the gun, but I know Chief Cochin and all his officers in some way would like to know if they're going to a house or maybe approaching somebody in a car, there's a database to say that person has purchased 10 weapons in the last 8 months, you know? So I don't know, that's something I have to weigh, but the moral issue still falls down to us, all of us individually, to find some way to get some sensible changes, universal background checks, to strengthen our mental health institutions and reimbursement systems so people can get more help. We can catch some of these situations prior to them exploding, because many of us have kids, and it's not just our kids who are going to school. It's aunts, uncles, fathers, mothers who can be anywhere at any time, victim to senseless tragedies of this nature. So I know this board, in a sense, probably will not pass any resolution supporting any of these actions, but I still feel it's important for me to speak out and remind the public that we individually can continue to speak out, and hopefully some of our leaders at some level will finally see a way to help mitigate this problem, because we know it's not going to totally go away, but at least to lessen it. Thank you.
Tim Kafalis, 205 Leafwood Road. I want to kind of comment. I kind of agree with some of the things Mr. Goen said for change. Today, if you read the paper, Lockheed Martin has just put a carport in with solar on the roof and savings of about $300,000 a year. So some things do need to be, maybe a workshop is in order if you're going to be seriously discussing this. Tonight you're being asked to discuss a variety of issues regarding global warming, solar energy, wind power, trees, and rising sea level. I'm not going to stand before you and preach one way or another. Discussion is good, discussion is important, and we are a free society which allows for open discussion of differing ideals, with all participants acting on an equal and ethical basis. I have enclosed for you an opinion of scholars, not my opinion, nor do I feel my opinion or that of a layman is qualified for you as our elected and appointed officials to consider. I suggest that if and when you address any further conversation or investment, you have all the facts, and there are many. Once again, I suggest that all the facts be considered before any intelligent discussion can take place. When the city decided to build the reverse osmosis plant, you brought forward professionals to assist in making determination, as you have with other things in the city. I hope that if you do bring professionals to help you decide how to respond, change, or improve, or simply do nothing regarding these issues, that you bring in independent thinkers and at least have professionals on both sides of the issues. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Josh Casey. I am a student at St. Petersburg College in the Public Policy and Administration program, and my address is 2030 Harding Street. First, I would like to thank the Commission for the opportunity of this public hearing and say that I am here tonight to talk about the feasibility of traffic calming initiatives for the East Harrison Street corridor of the Union Academy neighborhood. This is a project for my last college course that analyzes whether the combination of non-physical and physical measures are viable approaches to reducing the negative effects of traffic throughout the corridor. But this is not just a project for me, because as a Cops and Kids Youth Center employee, it is also something that I have a personal stake in. East Harrison Street, one of the busiest corridors in the Union Academy neighborhood, is surrounded by housing complexes, a park, a youth center, and an elementary school. What is concerning to me is that considering how much this corridor is utilized by the community, especially by children, speeding and failing to yield to pedestrians seem to be common occurrences. To better gauge the need for traffic calming initiatives, I interviewed 25 people from the community about traffic concerns relating to East Harrison Street. Some of these questions included, What is the speed limit on East Harrison Street? On a weekly basis, how often have you noticed drivers speeding on East Harrison Street? And on a weekly basis, how often have you noticed drivers failing to yield to pedestrians on East Harrison Street? Surprisingly, 84% of the respondents did not know what the speed limit was, possibly because there is not a speed limit sign posted on East Harrison Street. Even though Florida law states that the maximum speed within any municipality is 30 miles per hour, it is evident that many drivers are unaware of this. As for the other two questions, 60% of respondents stated that they have noticed speeding on East Harrison Street more than 5 times a week, while 96% of respondents have noticed drivers failing to yield to pedestrians at least 1 to 4 times a week. Now, in my opinion, these occurrences are not due to a lack of policing. Instead, I believe they can be attributed to an unawareness of driving responsibilities. So what can we do to calm traffic and improve awareness? Well, my recommendations are simple and seem to parallel the police department's 3-year strategic plan. First, I would post speed limit signs on East Harrison Street, preferably static speed display boards. Research has shown that these boards are perceived to have an immediate and long-lasting impact on traffic calming. Secondly, I would consider adding double yellow lines to the middle of the street, which could help reduce speeds by providing a view of narrower traffic lanes. And lastly, I would add more crosswalks to the street. Currently, there is only one intersection with a crosswalk on East Harrison Street. With more added, it would provide markings in the street for pedestrians to cross that can also be easily identified by drivers. Now, I'm well aware that there are costs to consider with my recommendations, but it is my belief that the potential benefits of these measures will far exceed any of the costs associated with them. In closing, I'd like to commend the city of Tarpon Springs for all it does to improve the quality of life for its citizens, and thank the commission for consideration of this issue. I'd also like to thank Tarpon Springs City Project Supervisor Gary Sherman, as well as Major of Police Jeff Young, for assisting me with this project. They have both provided me with great information and have already started looking into this issue. Thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll go to proclamations. First one we have is Lights On After School. This proclamation reads, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 22nd, 2015, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs in the lives of children, families, and communities. Whereas more than 28 million children in the U.S. have parents who work outside the home, 15.1 million children have no place to go after school. Whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing funding shortfalls so severe that they're being forced to close their doors and turn off the lights. And whereas the city of Tarpon Springs is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people, and whereas the city of Tarpon Springs urges citizens to ensure that every child has access to safe, engaging place where the lights are on after school, and enthusiastically endorses Lights On After School, and is committed to the innovative after-school programs and activities that ensure that the lights stay on and the doors stay open for children after school. And whereas the Aura Club, Child Care in Tarpon Springs have provided significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim October 22nd, 2015 as Lights On After School. And we have Mr. O'Hara, the executive director of, as good as I know the program, our club is here. Mr. O'Hara, if you could come, and if you'd like to say something, you can.
Never turn down a chance to speak.
I'll give you this first there if you want.
Oh, okay.
I know you want to speak there, you know. We're just so happy to have you all the way up here in Tarpon.
It was fun driving. I'm based in St. Pete. Thank you, Mr. want to thank Mayor Archie and the City Council for passing the proclamation. We really appreciate it. We're heading into our 40th year of providing after-school, before and after-school services, and as well as early learning. And just as a note, you probably can't see it from here, but the Rays are also supporting, they're lighting up the dome. Not a win, but they're out of season now, but they are going to light the dome on the 22nd, which is a nice gesture on their part too. So we'll have all kinds of activities going on in all of our before and after school programs. I hope folks will take an opportunity to come visit them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. And keep up the good work. The next proclamation is Florida Government Week. And this proclamation reads, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas city government is the government closest to the most citizens, the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents, and whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities, and whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along the understanding of public services and their benefits, and whereas Florida City Government Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by city government in our lives, whereas this week offers an important opportunity to spread the word to all the citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government which is closest to the people. Whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of different projects and information. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence government through their civic involvement. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim October 18th through 24th, 2015 as Florida City Government Week. And we will be mailing this. The next proclamation is OE Day, and this proclamation reads, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas October 28, 2015 commemorates the 75th anniversary of Greece's refusal on October 28, 1940 to surrender to Mussolini's Italian fascist government, and whereas the historic statement OE means no in Greek, played a pivotal role in the ultimate victory of the Allied forces in the World War II, and whereas OE Day is an inspiration to those who cherish democracy and freedom, and whereas this occasion commemorates a significant event in the history and life of Greek people, whereas the Greeks faithfully met their obligation to their allies and their country with courage and self-sacrifice and determination and dedication. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim October 28th, 2015 as OE Day in Tarpon Springs, and urge all citizens to honor and celebrate the memory of the brave patriots who fought for freedom, not only for themselves, but for all the free world on this important day. And I don't see Mr. Sosois, so we'll make sure that they get this. Are there any public comments on any of those proclamations? Seeing none, we'll go to a presentation. That's item number 4, Solar Power Initiative Update. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. Okay, Mark, this is going to happen, right? Is that what it is?
That would be good, I guess.
Well, let's see. While we're waiting for that to come on, I'm going to be giving a presentation on solar power initiatives, and I'll be following along the outline that I gave in the backup for this item. And while that's coming up, there we go. So tonight I'll talk about the power company, Duke Energy in this case, the recent activities that pertain to solar. Also, I want to give you a performance update on our city rooftop solar pilot program at the wastewater plant. And then I want to conclude with where we're looking for the future for our RO facility and give you some thoughts about what I think the trends are and where things are going. So hopefully that's somewhat visible there. I'm going to start with that recent power company, item number 1, it looks like on there. And just a few recent projects, and I got this information from Duke Energy's website. This is under their media news releases, so this is their information. Most recently, September 30th, 2015, they gave a press release or a news release about a project in Osceola County. That's over by Kissimmee area there. And what's interesting about this is it is a rather good-sized project where they're going to connect directly to their own grid. It's 35 megawatts as part of their plan by 2018. And this particular project will allow them to connect directly to their grid to make clean power. And their state president, his name is Alex Glenn, quoted as, "The cost of solar energy continues to decrease. We're increasing our investments in this resource. It's part of our ongoing strategy to offer clean energy and provide customers more options to use renewable energy." So I'm hearing, the right things in terms of a trend and interest by our power company. And by the way, Duke Energy is the largest electric power holding company in the United States. So I think what they decide to do could have a big impact on things for us and others. Another project, and this is from May of 2015, it's a little bit different of a project. This is where they built something, designed, built it, own it, and they will operate it, but they're going to sell the power to, it's called the Reedy Creek Improvement District, but that's really Disney's name for their utilities. And it's a 15-year power purchase agreement with them. So they're building these types of projects. But what I found was really interesting at the end of this article, it says that their plan is to build 500 megawatts of solar by 2024 as part of a 10-year plan. And they funded more than $8 million in solar panel installations for 50 K-12 schools and universities in Florida to help foster renewable energy education. And that's going to factor into what I want to show you in a little bit here about interest. And that is, so they're doing this for schools and things, and I think a lot of these projects are just simple solar systems that power parking lot lights, et cetera. But if we could get some kind of partnership where we're using alternative energy as part of producing water for people to drink with an alternative water supply facility, I think that would be a great marriage or partnership of these types of ideas. So, of course, we haven't formally addressed Duke Energy with this yet, but it is something that I'm interested in talking to them about and seeing what we can do together possibly. So shifting gears a little bit to what we've already built, our little pilot project. Okay, that's a big picture. I'm gonna try it again. Technical difficulties. Anyway, I'll just tell you about it. It's 20 solar panels we installed on our rooftop over at the wastewater plant. And I'd give you the dimensions are roughly 20 feet by 20 feet. It's relatively small, but I went ahead and created a graph based on that information, and it's here. And this is called a radar chart, and what you do is you can read it from the top, a little cursor here. And as you read around it, okay, that's time. So October 13, right there, is when we started collecting information on this. And as you work your way around, all the way up to last month, you'll see. One of the first things I want to point out to you is the blue line, kind of the jagged line, is the actual monthly power output of this system. Okay, and you can see how it goes up and it comes back down. And you might see what's going on here. In summertime, the days are long, the angle of the sun is higher, you're getting more sun hitting those panels, you're going to get some of your peak months. Then notice as we work our way into winter how the number drops down. The closer it gets to the middle of the circle, the less power it's putting out. Another set of numbers here is this red ring is the average of all the 2 years of data that we've collected. So you can see how it goes up and down below that. And that's something we'll need to take into account when we plan this as part of a project perhaps at the RO facility. Another line I put on here, just to put this system in perspective, the green ring on the outside is the average household monthly energy requirement. So that sort of puts this little system in perspective, okay? At the best months, it's about a house's worth of energy, okay? And so we'll need to have a project quite a bit larger than that to have a significant impact in terms of energy. And we've got one that we can do at the RO facility that could produce significantly more than that. So, but that's just showing you an idea of, we've been running this for a few years. I think it's important to point out that we had staff do the installation, the purchase, and put everything together and collect the data for us. And that was the whole reason for this project, is just to dip our toe into this a little bit, get some in-house experience and expertise. So as we move forward, we're going to have a lot better basis to make decisions. So going back up to our agenda here. So what are we looking at for the future? Well, the RO facility, we've planned something in our site planning of that facility. We've left about a 600-foot corridor on the north side, about 30 feet wide. And the reason you want to have it on the north side is all of these systems collect the sun from the south. So we've got enough room, far enough that the building doesn't shade it. It's a way to get that southern exposure. And I really think it would communicate a lot to visitors that, hey, this city's a little bit different. I can't think of any other water facilities that have solar panels, at least in our area at this point. So we've included this type of evaluation, and yes, we do want to get some professionals involved that are experts in solar to help us make our decisions moving forward. There's different types of decisions to be made. What type of system do you want to use? Solar panels is just one way. There's other technologies out there. And then if we do select solar panels, there's many different types with different advantages and disadvantages. So, and then we need to look at what kind of agreement would make the most sense for the city. Do we want to purchase this and then own it and operate it, or would it make sense to do a design, build, operate by others where we purchase the power? So these are all things we'll want to look at carefully before we come to you with recommendations for you to consider. So we've done that in this contract coming up. We've worked with procurement to make sure in the areas of expertise that we're looking for our utilities engineer will be alternative energy expertise. And all that fits into our CIP plan. In 2017, we've got $500,000 slated for that. Of course, if we can get a partner that makes sense and we can leverage that into even a bigger project, that would be our goal. But I feel the direction from the community and our leadership here is that we're going to go forward with something, whether it be on our own or in a partnership. So we've got a plan for that. So concluding, solar panels will continue to put out more power at lower costs. We're just watching these trends, and it is compelling to see that the costs are going down, the efficiencies are going up, the power is going up. So this is getting more and more of a realistic, feasible thing as time goes on. Electric rates will continue to rise. That's a known thing. One of the setbacks, if you would believe it, is that we're pretty cheap in terms of power compared to the rest of the nation. So it makes those feasibilities look a little tougher. But I think as time goes on, that will continue to go up in price. And as those solar panels come down in price, you're going to get a crossover point where it's going to be a great idea. As I mentioned before, a partnership with the electrical utility could be an effective approach, and that's something we'll be discussing. And as more solar energy gets installed, the balance could shift in favor of more facility construction. There's a momentum thing going on I've been reading about, where once this solar energy becomes more and more prevalent, the power companies have to consider it in their plans. It's not just this fringe thing anymore. They're actually, once it's getting built, the power that comes from it is free, so they're going to want to use it. So it starts to get more and more momentum and become a bigger and bigger part of the picture. So that concludes the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Commissioner Bassett and Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. So the ones that are across the street, what are they powering any certain item over there?
Yeah, we're using what's referred to as net metering, and what that means is they go right into the electrical system and pretty much gobbled up by our usage over there at the facility. But if for some reason we are producing more than we could use in the middle of the night, but even that, it would go back into the grid, reversing the meter, and you'd get a credit for that power. So as the facility gets bigger, that possibility becomes greater.
Has there been any measurable savings as far as that goes over there? You can tell?
Yes, we've calculated about $2,200 of electrical savings over the 2 years, or about $1,100 a year.
Excellent. And how much did that cost to install?
About $37,000.
Okay, so we're still steep. I'm very interested in what you said about its use over at the water plant. Is there any way you could get us some more of the data as far as you talked about, all the power here being cheap, and then but the price of solar, but that will merge at some point. Is there any projections you could provide us that would help us see that for planning for the future?
Yes, I think we'd be in a much better position to do that once we do this analysis with the engineers, just because there's so many options that answer could be quite different depending on if we get a partner, what type of system we end up using, and what type of format we use. So I will like to bring that to you. I could give you some initial things now, but I think it'd be
later is fine.
yeah.
I'd rather have more of the data later. Maybe contact Gainesville, see what they have as far as partnerships go. If we get somebody else to pay for it, that's obviously ideal. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Smith, for the effort, for the research that's gone into this. And I know you've been involved with our solar initiatives for some period of time now, and you've given us other updates in the past, and I appreciate that. I did have some follow-up questions. Some of them are kind of similar to what Commissioner Banther asked. I know at one point in your presentation you mentioned possibly having some kind of a partnership with Duke Energy. I think you said that you have not formally discussed anything with them. I'm wondering, is there a timeline, or could there be a timeline on when we might engage into some kind of formal discussion?
The simple answer is I'm still trying to find the right person in the organization. I'm having a little trouble getting called back. So I'm not going to quit, though, and I'm going to find that person. And then once I do, I'm going to get with the city manager and see how he wants to proceed. But definitely will be in a better position to give you a timeline once I do make some contact and get a little further along.
Okay. And I had a question on the graph that you showed, and maybe I'm having a hard time understanding exactly how to read the graph because it's kind of different to me. But I understand that it shows that the rooftop solar project is generating more energy in summer months. It looks like, as I look at it, that the green area is the average home usage.
Right.
And it seems like that is not, unless I'm reading it wrong, it seems like that's not fluctuating throughout the year.
I just put that number as a constant. That's a great
Okay.
question. I just was showing it to say, oh, when would this energy reach the average home usage? Just to show you as a
So you
reference.
took like the annual usage and
Yes.
divided it by 12 essentially?
Well, basically, yes, exactly.
Okay, because I would have guessed that would have had a similar fluctuation during summer months. It would have been higher.
Probably not as much of a difference, but yes, you're right. Yeah, in the wintertime in Florida, the AC is the main electrical user, so it does go down. At least at my house, it does.
Okay.
I don't use a lot of heat.
Gotcha. Yes, me neither. Like Commissioner Banther, I was hoping to get some additional information in terms of, you mentioned that solar is getting cheaper over time. And you specifically mentioned the project that we have that cost, I think you said $37,000 to install. How long ago was that we spent $37,000?
It's about 2.5 years ago, and some things there we did to really minimize the cost is staff did the installation. We picked an existing open area. But again, it's a small project, so you would get some economy of scale with a much bigger one. And I bet you that same equipment now would be almost half of that cost.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
How much is it changing? How much different would it be if we did it today? How much different would it be if we did it 2 years from now, if we know? I think those would be interesting numbers. And then in conjunction with that, I would like more information. It said in the presentation that we know electrical rates are rising. It'd be interesting to know what the projections are there. Like Commissioner Banther was saying, it seems like there's probably a point as the cost of solar is going down and the electrical rates are going up. The cost of solar is becoming more and more feasible, it sounds like to me, and I would
Yes.
like to get more information on that, and to see when we can really get more involved, because it seems like you said that we've just kind of stuck our toes in the water, so to speak, and I'm anxious to do more. Have you done any, or has staff done any research on the Oldsmar project that's been in the news recently?
I haven't yet. I've seen it as I've driven by, and it looks great. I wanted to tell you that that's the same kind of project we had proposed to do at our RO facility if we had enough, I will say, savings accumulated from construction. But it just, as we got down to the end of the project, we had to cut some of those extra things out, and we had other things that were vital to the process. So originally, we were going to have about 5 carports, solar carports, very much like that facility, as part of our initial phase. So that's still in the possibility range. I was going to go for the bigger bang for the buck of the solar panels along the northern property first, probably, just because that would put out more power per dollar than the carport idea. But we can certainly look into that and see if we can get some information on it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know whether or not that project is cash positive, is net positive for them, or if it's really just kind of window dressing at this point.
Right.
Because if it is something that we could get involved with and do something similar, obviously we'd want to do that. So along those lines, one question I would have would be, what external funds were they able to tap into, whether there were some kind of grants or tax rebates and so forth, and are those same sources available to the city of Tarpon Springs as we look at getting involved with solar? So those would be some of the questions that I have, and just my opinion as we move forward. I would love it if we could get in the near future beyond the data gathering phase, and if we could actually dive in and start doing more to the point where Tarpon Springs could really claim to be a leader in solar energy, more so than a researcher in solar energy. But I definitely appreciate the work that's gone into it so far, and I look forward to additional solar initiatives in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart?
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate your work and your forward thinking to start doing this research. And as Mr. Commissioner Larson said, I'd like to also, I'm excited to move forward with this. Most of my questions have already been answered. You did mention that there were other technologies other than solar panels, so I'd be interested in learning more about that. What other technologies are out there that we could use that might work as well at our new plant or facility, and also what Oldsmar is doing. I'd like to know more about that, so we can maybe compare what we've been doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any public comments on this item?
Peter Delacus, 514 Ashland Avenue. This is great news, but as Commissioner Larson said, it's more about doing than researching. So we need to look at the feasibility of putting panels on all our buildings, whether it's the public safety building, any other building that we have that is in our asset base that has the potential for that. Something that wasn't mentioned, but I think will be an important part going forward in the future, is batteries and electric storage. That really is going to be part of the critical aspect of making solar efficient. I mean, we're called the Sunshine State. If there's a way, you know, I know it's the Back to the Future stuff, but even to put in towers that have magnifying lenses that increase the solar energy that send it down to huge battery storage, you know, I mean, a lot of acid, but we're getting to that point technologically that we can start looking at some of these other alternatives that we haven't thought about beyond just the realm of water pipes and black under plastic to get it hot and things of that nature. But be careful. I appreciate Paul bringing forward information that our friends at Duke want to act that they're so solar initiative now, yet they're backing a Second Amendment to put onto the election that would ban citizens and groups from finding ways to power their own facilities. And so Amendment 1 by the solar constituent of, I forget the whole name, but is where you would be allowed to lease or buy out solar panels to, you know, have the company would basically put it in and you buy the power back from them, so it avoids utilities. And let's be honest, the only reason that Duke and these big power companies are finally getting into solar is because they want to control the power and the flow of power. So the money's going to them. If we find ways to cut them out and become our own sources, that will save us money. And one other thing that I will bring back forward, a friend of ours, Chris Herbowski, for years has explained how Gainesville and some other cities have their own municipal electric company, where the earnings at the electric company go back into the municipality and not to the shareholders and the CEOs at Duke or Florida Progress or XLT Energy or TECO or Gulf South or any of these other agencies within Florida. So there are options as to how we can maximize getting revenue from these things, but I applaud the commission and I applaud Paul. I know this takes a lot of time to research this besides all the other things he does, so I look forward to hearing more in the future on some of these advancements. Thank you.
Gerald going. I'm against all of this. Anybody believe that? Paul, on the $37,000, wasn't part of that cost because you had to do some safety railing and things like that on that particular project, which inflated it? It wasn't necessarily the panels that were costing. It was that. And I believe on one of the handouts you gave at the Budget Advisory Committee, you were saying it was like so many years initially on payback. But what was it? Do you remember? Do you remember what it was? Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay. 34 years at the rates at that time on payback. That's now.
If you went to 20 cents.
Right, yeah, 24 years. And there's even a possibility of adding 50% funding. It might come down to 12 years on payback. That was always on your mind, isn't it? When are we going to get our money back? So that's a valid question. It's a valid consideration. But you aren't putting stuff in the atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. So the payback may be more for Cameron and Susie than it is for folks right now. Thank you.
If there are no other public comments, Mr. Smith, we thank you for that. I just let you know, Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is also looking at solar for as a regional effort. What can be done for as the state is concerned to minimize some of the legislation that's on the books now, but also if you need some additional help in trying to figure out who would then do, we can get together on that.
Thank you, Mayor.
The next item we have is item number 5, and that's the consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone would like to look at? 13. Item number 13. Anything else?
Thank you. My question's, fairly easy. I see that we're gonna go to leasing golf carts for a 3-year period. My question is, if we owned golf carts prior to this, where are they and what are we doing?
At the end of the lease of the current contract, the Easy Go company is going to buy them back from us. That was all part of the original agreement.
So the existing carts that we have
Correct.
are gonna be bought back at the end of this 3-year?
Correct. And we'll get brand-new carts.
And then we'll get brand-new carts and we won't have a lease in place?
Yes, we will. That's the new 3-year lease you're going to
Right.
vote on tonight. Correct.
Okay. So the carts that we own right now?
We don't own them, we lease them.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
So we don't own carts?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any public comments on these items? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Seaver,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson.
Yes?
Mayor Archie.
Yes. The next item is item number 14, special consent, Select American Consulted Engineers of Florida LLC for RFQ number 150081-S-JJ, design of improvements to brick streets.
You have on the, in the agenda, the brick streets that are next on the priorities. The things we added to this is also the design of our new parking lot that's gonna be on the east end of town where the old Public Works used to be. So we incorporated that in there, and so this is the engineering for not only the brick streets, but for the design of that parking lot. As you know, as that area of the downtown builds up and we almost become a second downtown, the need for parking over there as we see the winery and the restaurants and the old police station, what they're doing, there's gonna be some parking areas and concerns. So we accelerated a project to get the parking as we've seen those deals go through for the winery, hopefully a barbecue place with Johnny's Filling Station. So that's gonna be incorporated into the design so we can do that also. So that's what the total bid is here, to design all those things.
Are there any questions? Mr. Tarpon?
Thank you. Mark, I see where the, as you said, what's included in the bid is the construction of the parking lot on Ring Avenue.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that when we go to do the Brick Street at Ring Avenue, that the Ring Avenue reconstruction of the Brick Street in that parking lot are done at the same time?
Yes.
So as not to have Ring Avenue tore up and then the parking lot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's our intention. There are some other things we plan to do on Tarpon Avenue along that way, but those are things we'll have to do after season.
Sure.
So we didn't want to hold up the after-season things for this, so these, we plan to do those together, and then we have some improvement, crosswalk, we talked, some other things going, but we didn't want to incorporate that in, because we want to go on these, and then when we're out of season, like we did at the sponge docks, to have another smaller one that a lot of it be in-house to do for those projects. So
Yeah, I understand.
that's not the total thing, but.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It doesn't say, it says that the design services for the new parking lot to be constructed. It doesn't say about the actual construction. So I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that those
Yes.
two are done simultaneously.
Yes.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Commissioner Seaver,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther.
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson.
Yes.
Mayor Archie.
Yes. The next item is item number 15, award bid number 150155-B-JJ, lighting, sidewalk, and paving.
What we've done in this bid is we've really incorporated 3 projects into this bid that all work together. We've incorporated one, and as you see from the funding, we have 3 different funding sources. The 3 projects are, one, the MLK streetscape project we talked about with the lighting and sidewalks. That's project 1. Because of the lighting component of it, that's why we decided to add the west end of Tarpon Avenue that needs to redo those lights, wirings and stuff. So that was another project coming up. So for time, effort-wise, and better price we're quoting, we incorporated that into it. The third project is the surfacing, whereas you got the road surfaced in the surface of MLK as the storm's going with this last storm. While not the complete contributor, it was the decider that we really needed to move up the paving of MLK, especially those bad areas that you see along there. So again, this is really the paving project for MLK, it's the streetscape and light project for MLK, and at the same time doing the west end of Tarpon Avenue from alternate 19 to Spring with new lighting and wiring because it's on this last leg. So we plan to do all these together and get all of them together done in the 120 days and have a completed project.
Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. I understand that the funding sources are provided here in the backup, but for the future, when we do a project like this where we're bringing, kind of multiple aspects together, if we can somewhat have the funding actually broke out.
Yeah.
In other words, like how much is going to, I mean, it's unnecessary for right now. I just think, for the future to have that data would be interesting to know because, obviously we pay for the repaving out of one fund and the lights out of another fund, so moving forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The only thing I just mentioned is, Commissioner Seaver?
I understand that this is on East MLK. Is there any future projects for the West MLK due to the storms and?
Yes, on that situation, we've got a serious problem underground that our engineers are working on. When we have that set and know our real problem with the ground, I mean, as we've seen, we've done a lot of fixes and they all gone. We need to get to the core, and that is a separate project to do that once we are comfortable that what we need to do to get that complete and stop that constant fixing and going in. So that's just a lot more in detail. There's going to be a lot with the ground underneath and probably some different things other than paving to try to keep that from doing like it's doing. So that will be a separate project coming forward. We got a good direction of what we can do, and they won't be wasting money because we haven't fixed what's underneath the road. So that is coming next.
Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I was gonna say is, in talking to Mr. Funchen, is that Tarpon Avenue and the rest is being spaced out so that not to interfere with some of the planned events and those type of things there. So with that, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Seaver?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 16 is renew employee dental insurance contract.
Honorable Mayor, Board of Commissioners, good evening. Jane Niffen, HR Director. I'm here tonight to recommend that the Board of Commissioners renew our dental insurance for a one-year period commencing January of 2016 with the Florida League of Cities. There's been a stabilization over the last year in our claims experience. So the renewal we got this year was at 0%. So the rates would remain in effect for another year.
Any questions for Commissioner Banther?
Thank you. Just overall next year, I would just encourage that if possible, same with the health insurance, that we accept bids for this portion as well. But being that we didn't go up in the annual fee, this is probably our best bet. But just as a practice, I think for health insurance each year, at least every 2 years, we should accept bids. Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Commissioner Seaver?
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next, we go to ordinance and resolution, item number 17, resolution 2015-38, reorganization of the Human Resources Department.
Resolution 2015-38, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, authorizing changes in the organization of the Human Resources Department, including reclassification of one position with a revised title, job description, and wage grade, creation of a new position with associated job description, elimination of an existing position, and providing for an effective date hereof. It's Resolution 2015-38 by title only.
Ms. Niffen.
I'm here to recommend tonight that the Mayor and Board of Commissioners approve this renewal, or not renewal, excuse me, reorganization, renewal on the brain. It's been 15 years since the Human Resources Department has had any substantive changes. We've been operating under the same structure with the same positions. In fact, as noted in your backup, as noted in your backup, in the mid-2000s, we actually had a vacant human resources specialist position that was frozen due to budgetary concerns. We have been, I hate to say lean and mean, but we have been very, not understaffed, but I guess if you wanted to call it that, we've been very busy. And with all the technological changes, even though they're great advances, there falls a burden on the HR department to educate a lot of the lay people as well as some of the employees. So we're looking at this as a way of, number one, streamlining the department, becoming more efficient and more effective, but also for the matter of succession planning. We're not all going to be here forever, and I think it's time we decided that we needed someone we could groom to possibly take over someday, promotion from within. Any questions?
I just want to thank you and the city manager for this reorganization. I think it was much needed. I understand too the positions are being moved and then this new position is being opened, and I definitely think that it's necessary. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, and this is something, as you know, we've been through a lot of these reorganizations. We've gone through department by department. I want to thank Bob Coach again, as he's done it with some of the other reorganizations you've seen doing this. This is one of those cases that, because of retirement, this is something that's been in the works and talked about for a while as a result of a retirement. So you're not dealing with an issue of dealing with a present long-time employee. This was the perfect time in coordinating again with the technology and what we're doing and the needs we have in the department. This was the perfect time to do it. And again, you know, one employee who's the lowest one in there will move up. That person hasn't been doing just receptionist for the last 2 or 3 years and have not been doing their title. They've been doing other things for that. And now the chance we have to move them to actually what they've been doing. The second one is a new position by retirement, and we have seriously upgraded that. And that is going to be a person highly skilled in all areas of HR. In essence, like we've done in some of the other departments with Anthony and Heather recently hired. We're looking for people who can come in and be number 2s right away and advance that. So this is a position to attract somebody. We need a position like this. I want to thank Jane and Bob for working on that. And again, by the result of retirement, we're able to do this. And like we've done in the other departments and the efficiencies and what we've shown for it, I think this will do what's been needed to be done for several years in HR. This will get us where we want to be.
If no other questions, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any public comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Siebert,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther,
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Archie.
Yes. The next item is item number 18, ordinance 2015-19, application 15-74, 400 Pine Trail Village, vacation of right-of-way. This is second reading, this is quasi-judicial.
Ordinance 2015-19, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, vacating and abandoning right-of-way for an approximately 640-square-foot portion of an alleyway on the south boundary of Pine Trail Village, located at 400 Pine Trail Village, adjacent to North Safford Avenue, providing for conditions, providing for findings, providing for recordation in the public records of Pinellas County, and providing for an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance 2015-19 by title only. The ordinance was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on October 9, 2015. This item is quasi-judicial. We've had a full quasi-hearing at the prior meeting, so I would ask for both staff and applicant. Number one, I'll swear you in just a moment, but simply to give the board an update as to whether any conditions, circumstances, et cetera, material aspects of the application have changed. If you're going to testify tonight on either this application or the next one, I'd ask that you please stand and be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in these proceedings is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Heather Earler for staff. There actually has not been any material changes on this particular application since first reading. There has been no correspondence received, and I have had no one visit to discuss this application. So there is nothing else unless you have any questions.
I don't think there are any questions.
Does the applicant wish to make a statement or give any update to the board?
If the council has any questions for us, we can, but I don't think there's a need to.
Any members of the public wishing to speak either in support or in opposition to this application?
With that, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Siebert,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next is item number 19, ordinance 2015-20, application 15-73, 200 Lemon Street. This is another request to vacate the right-of-way. This is, this first, second reading? Second, okay.
Ordinance 2015-20, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, vacating and abandoning right-of-way for an approximately 2,921 square foot portion of an alleyway internal to Lemon Village, located at 200 East Lemon Street, adjacent to Boyer Street, providing for conditions, providing for findings, providing for future easement, providing for recordation in the public records of Pinellas County, and providing for an effective date. That's the second reading of ordinance 2015-20 by title only. The ordinance was published by title only in the Tampa Bay Times on October 9, 2015. Again, this is quasi-judicial. I'd ask for updates from both applicant and staff.
Heather Earler for staff. There has been no material change or on this application. The application fee has been paid for both applications, and with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? I don't see any.
Does the applicant wish to make a statement or offer anything other than what you already have? Okay. Any public comment either in opposition or in support of this application?
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Siebert,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Larson?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. That concludes the regular session agenda, and we'll adjourn it at 7:38. I now call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, October 20th, 2015 at 7:39. Roll call.
Chair Archie?
Here.
Vice Chair Larson?
Here.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Here.
Commissioner Banther?
Here.
Commissioner Siebert?
Here.
Item number 1 is RFP for redevelopment of vacant lot located at 144 East Tarpon Avenue. Ms. Lemons.
Hi, Karen Lemons, Economic Development Manager. This is the lot that's commonly known at 144 East Tarpon Avenue. We're looking for tonight is consensus on issuing an RFP to get development opportunities for it. This is one of 3 city lots that 4 city properties that we've owned that for the past several years we've been trying to get redeveloped and back on the tax rolls. The other 3 being the Walton Avenue Nursing Home, which we've been successful with, and they're targeting to open and accept residents by next summer. The former police fire station, which is now a brewery, and then the former public works yard, Ring Avenue, which we recently sold, and as you know, will be another brewery. So this is the last of the 4 that we're hoping to get a good project on. As you recall, for some background, in 2012, we issued an RFP for this property, and we did not get any responses from it. So what we'd like to do now, since a lot has changed in the economy, a lot has changed in the climate downtown, in the past 3 years, we've attracted about 11 new businesses right to that immediate area, 4 new restaurants, 2 new bakeries that are coming in, the Replay Amusement Museum, several new boutique stores. The city has put money into the Pinellas Trail enhancements, put money into building a dog park, a splash park, a fitness park. We've done a lot to create some energy into the downtown. So we think this is a good opportunity now and a good time to issue another RFP, and I think, maybe we'll be successful this time and get some proposals back to us. So tonight what we're looking for is just consensus that you would like us to move forward to get the RFP. And what I've included in your packet is just some background information. It's the scope of services. We put this together to market the city, make us look really good, talk about what we've done to get some developers interested, and we've also included some information there relative to the actual site. So if it gets approved today, we'll work with our procurement services, develop a timeline, put together the full RFP, and issue that. And usually it's about a 30 to 45 day period that will accept proposals to come.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Thank you. I'd just say that it all looks good. I see that you've updated some parts of the RFP in terms of the new things that are going on downtown and what we've done infrastructure-wise for the city and new businesses, et cetera. I just ask that as we move forward, I know it's an RFP and we're requesting somebody to give us a proposal, but I still think long-term it's most beneficial to us as a city to have some residential upstairs and commercial downstairs, so my 2 cents.
All right. I think that remains our vision, to have the 2 stories.
I saw that in your backup.
Yeah. Okay.
Any additional?
I just want to thank you, Karen, for all the backup material too, and you did make our city look nice. And with that new Echo Village coming in, I think we're going to be adding a lot more residential to our downtown. Thank you.
I also want to thank you in advance for getting people to reply to this one.
Yes.
I don't know, do we need a motion, just by consensus?
Move.
Okay. Second. Roll call?
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Vice Chair Larson?
Yes.
Chair Archie?
Yes, and this will conclude our CRA meeting, and we'll adjourn it at 8:43. Chief, I'm at 7, want to go too fast. Chief?
No comments, Mayor.
Captain, Major?
Sergeant, whatever, corporal, good enough.
Mr. Attorney?
I wish I had another title, but no comments.
I look way on the end, city manager left me.
I know you missed me, but I got your back still. As you see, this is a dry run for what we're probably going to be looking at till the end of January. So this is a good test. I want to thank Mark and Mike back there for this setup and everybody who's done the hard work to get this room. And again, this was a good agenda tonight to test it. I will know we've already seen we need to add a speaker in the hallway for the seats in the hallway, but I will have you know, I was watching on my phone, the live streaming in here is working. So people out there could have it on the phone. Also, it works. We've got it through to the TV in the break room next door. So actually, if we got a more overflow crowd and the seats out there were filled up with a speaker, or they wanted to see it, there's rooms for plenty of chairs next door, and they're watching the meeting as it's going on. So the good news is everything seems to be working. Again, the live streaming next door, if we had an overflow of people and needed to put them in there. We are also working on a contingency that we know we're gonna have a giant meeting, the possibility of the county and their mobile equipment coming up and filming us at a site. We're looking at the recreation building there. It's not the most ideal for sound and everything else, but it will be for size. So if we can get them to bring their portable camera, because obviously this is how this is gonna be set up until the auditorium project's done. This is facilitated by them getting set going forward. Again, the $500,000 we got from the state, thanks to some of our elected officials, for that auditorium. That is taking place, which is why we're up here. So we're trying to figure out all contingencies, planning ahead for the candidate forum in January, and that's one of the things we think we're gonna use the county for in that off-site location at the rec center to be able to film. We may not be able to live stream it, but again, we'll be able to convert it and have it on the next day and film it and stuff. So again, we're still working through all those things, contingencies. We're learning tonight, and so far we'll evaluate, but things have worked pretty good. It took a lot of wiring and working to get this ready, but again, this was a good agenda and a good meeting, and I'm glad Gerald brought his crowd to test out the crowd portion of it and how we can handle it. So everything went well, and again, live streaming's working. It's working next door, and we'll work out any little kinks we see from it, and, the sound's great, so, this is probably where we'll be to the end of January, hopefully sooner, but nothing ever goes on schedule, so probably saying the end of January.
Well, thank you, and Mike and Mark and everybody that's kind of helped with this, and we can kind of help people understand this is not church, and they can come up to the front row there. Chairs, second row, they kind of like a little hesitant, but, Madam Clerk? Oh, okay. You have anything?
No
comment. Commissioner Bath?
Yes, I saw the email come out about all the jobs that are gonna be, opening up here from the gun range and Lowe's, and I don't think Tarpon Springs has seen that many new jobs online ever or in quite some time, so I encourage people to, think of residents that need jobs. Let's try and keep those jobs, well, they're in Tarpon physically, but from Tarpon residents, so I know I've passed them out a bit to a few people, but, let's take advantage of this and try and keep that money inside Tarpon.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Mark kind of stole my thunder, but I'll say it again anyway. I wanted to thank Mike and Mark, City Clerk's office, anyone else involved for moving us up here. It's a pretty smooth transition, it looks like, and I'm sure a lot of work is involved, so it is appreciated. Thank you.
Commissioner Tarpon?
Thank you. Yeah, just a question to you, Mark, with all the, renovations and everything going on around City Hall, I'm kind of a creature of habit, and I like to be able to pull into the mayor's parking space out by the clerk's office, and I haven't been able to do that for some time, so I'm hoping that that's gonna conclude, shortly, so we won't have to live with that too much longer.
We certainly hope so, yes.
All right, good. So,
No comment.
I just like to say, we're definitely glad that there's a lot of jobs. I'm hopeful that we would have, some job fairs in Tarpon to see if we can get some more Tarpon residents that will, take those jobs, so that would mean that we get some extra out of all of this, so, but, we'll look to see how that, proceeds. With that, we'll adjourn at 8:47. 7:47 and a half. And the clock's closing.
7. Made the same mistake twice, Mayor.
Oh, well, hey, as long as it's not one that hurt me.